A massive return for the Phoenix Suns as Jusuf Nurkić, the Suns' big man, is going to come back from injury and is set to make his preseason debut. We're going to talk about what that means for the Suns as we finally get to see Big Nurk with the lineup. And we are going to talk about it right here on Suns Digest. My name is CJ Pierre. We appreciate you guys for joining us. We are going to talk about what Jusuf Nurkić return to the starting lineup will mean as we finally will have a chance to see him merge together with the starting five and Tyus Jones along with the big three as we get into the beginning of this upcoming season. Now, before we get into that, we noticed that about 81% of you guys are watching our videos, and we appreciate that, but you haven't subscribed to the channel just yet. If you want to make sure you're keeping up to date with all the latest Phoenix Suns news and updates as we get ready for what's going to be an exciting NBA season, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Now let's get right into it and let's talk about big Jusuf Nurkić returning from injury. He suffered a finger injury in training camp, and we have not seen him over the course of these early preseason games, but it looks like he is now set to return, and he is going to finally see some preseason action heading into the upcoming season. The report coming from Chris Haynes saying that sources say Phoenix Sun center Jusuf Nurkić, who hasn't played this preseason, plans to make his debut in Thursday's preseason finale against the Los Angeles Lakers. Jusuf Nurkić is actually a big reason why I think the Suns are going to be legit contenders. I think he adds a very important piece that fits in very well with the lineup that new head coach Mike Budenholzer is going to roll out there. Of course, he'll be alongside Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Tyus Jones. And I think Jusuf Nurkić has shown signs that he will be a valuable asset. Now, last year, his numbers, they didn't scream, big time center in the NBA. Average about just under 11 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, only a block and per game, about a block per game. And then he did shoot 51% from the field. But a big note that he shot 24% from 3-point range. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on in this podcast in terms of what Nurkić could bring on the perimeter. But I think the thing that I like is how he will end up factoring into this starting five. As I said before, Nurkić, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and the new addition, the starting point guard, Tyus Jones. And how are these guys going to play together? How are these guys going to fit as a unit that is going to be cohesive? We had talked about it on this podcast over and over again. You've heard me say it: point guard, point guard, point guard. And the addition of Tyus Jones as the true point guard of this team is really something I think is going to really unlock what Jusuf Nurkić is able to do. Last season, when it was Devin Booker and Bradley Beal really being the main facilitators of the Suns' offense, Jusuf Nurkić found himself just kind of standing around a lot of times, just kind of setting picks and allowing those guys to go into ISO situations, not really finding himself attacking the basket or because of his own skill set not really being a factor on the perimeter again. We'll talk about that later. But now with a guy like Tyus Jones, who is very well versed in the pick and roll, your Nurkic is going to be able to find himself more of a factor on the offensive end, particularly around the glass. I think he's going to find himself in a lot of pick and roll situations where he is going to end up going to the basket, possibly draw some contact and get himself to the free throw line where he's a solid free throw shooter. But he'll also have a chance to really excel on his passing abilities. If they do start to collapse on him, he'll be able to kick it out, and that's when the spin cycle will begin with the big three that are going to be out there on the perimeter: Durant, Booker, and Beal. And at any given moment, those guys may find themselves in even more advantageous position just simply because of the addition of Tyus Jones to this lineup. And Jusuf Nurkić also being there is a big part in that. Now, if we take a quick look at what the Phoenix Suns depth chart looks like, there you see the starting five: Jones, Booker, Beal, Durant, and Nurkić. Now, Mason Plumlee has been starting in place of Nurkic at that center spot, but we have seen mostly the significant minutes coming from Oso Ighodaro. Now, with Jusuf Nurkic returning, likely to see Jusuf Nurkic being that starter, as I mentioned, Mason Plumlee being the first reserve center. Now, Oso Ighodaro is probably going to get some run at points in time over the course of the season. I actually expect we'll see probably more of him in this upcoming preseason game against the Los Angeles Lakers. But Ighodaro really showed a lot of promise, and I think there's an opportunity for him to potentially, you know, unseat Mason Plumlee in that backup center role and actually secure himself a spot in the rotation firmly. I don't think it'll be at the beginning of the season. I think that'd be something to look forward to later down the line. But Nurkic is solidified as the starting center of this team. He'll see the bulk of the minutes. He may see less minutes than what he saw last year in terms of just trying to increase the rotation. I would could see Coach Bud possibly using up to 10 players in the regular rotation over the course of the regular season. And then also, I would highly likely that we'll see some small ball lineups where Nurkic is off the floor, and then maybe a guy like Kevin Durant at the five, like we saw in the playoffs. But I do believe just simply having Nurkic back is going to be a very important addition for what the Phoenix Suns end up doing in the long run. Now, we talked about it. Will we see Slim Nurk, Jusuf Nurkic, slimming down over the course of the offseason? We have shown you guys the aspects that he's trying to add to his game, which really get talked about a lot when you talk about the addition of head coach Mike Budenholzer and what kind of offense he wants to bring to the table. We saw what he did, winning an NBA championship in Milwaukee and what he did with Brook Lopez, who became this stretch five and really became a viable threat from the 3 point range. Now, we talked about Jusuf Nurkić last year, only shot 24% from 3 point range. Not really his forte. However, we also talked about the fact that Jusuf Nurkić is trying to add that into his game. This is video that we showed you guys of Nurkic working out in the offseason again, looking slim, looking a little slender, slimming down, working on that shot, working on that 3 point shooting aspect to his game. With head coach Mike Budenholzer, he could become a quintessential stretch five in Budenholzer's offense, and if he's able to become a reliable 3 point shooter, I think he could be even a more valuable piece in pick and pop scenarios working with Tyus Jones. So I think this Nurkic adding this element to his game, something that he has even talked about, and something that head coach Mike Budenholzer has also talked about. Mike Budenholzer mentioning the idea of Nurkic becoming more of a threat offensively. He spoke about that at Suns Media Day. Mike Budenholzer saying there definitely has been intentional work by Nurk and conversations with him about what we think he can do and add and grow. And most obviously is a 3 point shooter. He's done it a little bit in his past, and we're going to push that envelope. So Mike Budenholzer telling us straight up, we should expect Jusuf Nurkic to be doing more from the perimeter. Now, Nurkic responded that he actually, not responded, but also commented on adding a potential 3 point shot to his game and what that could potentially mean. And he also spoke at Media Day and saying, it doesn't mean I'm going to just shoot 10 threes a game. I wish, but not going to happen. And especially as a team, we want to get better there, attempting and making more threes. But for me, that's going to be just a plus. I think it will just go back to the season in Portland that I had kind of free will to take the threes, and it was a good experience. Now, under head coach Frank Vogel, Jusuf Nurkic was not really jacking up 3 point shots on a regular basis. It just wasn't something that he was doing on, you know, with any regularity because that's just not what the offense that Frank Vogel was trying to run. And with head coach Mike Budenholzer utilizing the success that he had with Brook Lopez, I think that it's expected from a lot of us that we could see Jusuf Nurkic kind of add that to his game. Now he talked about having some free will to shoot some threes during his time in Portland. It wasn't like a vast amount of threes. The most that he had was the year before he ended up in Phoenix, where he attempted about 2.5 threes per game. Didn't really make them with a ton of high regularity. Actually shot 36% from 3 point range, which actually isn't terrible for someone who doesn't take that many threes. But if he wants to maybe add that to his game, that is something to look out for. Also, the fact that he slimmed down a little bit could mean something in terms of his conditioning, how many minutes we could see him play, but it could take away his ability to really bang in the low post with some of these bigger teams when you're dealing with teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, who added Isaiah Hartenstein. When you look at teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves with Rudy Gobert, the Los Angeles Lakers and Anthony Davis, the New Orleans Pelicans, Zion Williamson, all these teams that have guys who are solid at rebounding. Jusuf Nurkić has been a good rebounder. Obviously, Nikola Jokic. How could I forget the MVP? But I think that Nurkic, even slimmed down, will still be able to be a successful rebounder for this team, and that's going to be probably his main forte. He's going to be the best rebounder on the floor with that starting five, and I think that's going to be an element to his game that he will still need to make sure he is able to highlight, even if we're looking to see him do a little bit more on the offensive end. But Nurkic is going to be back. We'll see him in action during tomorrow's preseason finale against the Lakers. It's going to be a fun time. I cannot wait for the season to really kick off, and we will finally be able to see exactly what this Suns team is going to look like. That's all I got from you guys. If you want to hear if you want to let us know what you guys think, make sure you hit us up in the comment section. Let us know how we're doing. Talk about some topics that you guys want us to cover as we get into the season. That's all I got for you guys this time. We appreciate all the love and support. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss a thing that we're going to have cooking for you right here on Suns Digest. And for me, I'll catch you all next time. And go Phoenix Suns.